Ebsworth Street. Tutorials on how to do things. Lovely log cabin at the moment, and this is where I tend to do a lot of layouts. You can call wagon yard, which I'm just slowly start building. But tonight what I'm actually going to be doing is I'm actually going to be starting going to DCC chip this Bachmann 1.5 unit. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to talk you and show you how to DCC fit these. Now this comes with the I'm going to move it into the one of the power car ends. So on this one I am it, and then I'm going to talk you through it, all the little bits and pieces down here. See if I move the camera, able to see what I'm going to be able to achieve, and obviously how to do it. So this is what I'm going to be doing. So I'll just pan round so you can actually see the log cabin. So that's all the stuff that I've got in here at the moment. Obviously it's quite pretty. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and sign in on another. You're buffering a bit, mate. Yeah, I think it's going to be the problem is, can everybody hear me and see me, Cameron? And I know what's going to happen. As soon as I start getting into it, the doorbell's going to go with my Amazon delivery, which is pretty much what it tends to do all the time. So you can hear me at the moment, so that's alright, it's not too bad. Can you see me? That's the other question, is can you see me? Because at the moment you're the only one here at the moment, so we'll see what can be done. So with a Bachmann 158, 159, there's various different scenarios that you can do with these. You can see me, that's it, calm down a bit now. Okay, cool. So I'm going to crack on and start doing this now. I'm going to just set myself up. A little bit. When that finally comes in, so cool, so that's sorted. Hello Gary. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to DCC chip this Bachmann 159. I bought it recently. I'm building a new layout called Gordon's Lane TMD. It was not TMD, Gordon's Lane. It's basically based after my grandfather. My grandfather was named called Gordon, and when he was in the army he used to travel up and down on the Wessex main line. So it's a little bit of a attribute to him. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to show you how to do a power car conversion. So you need one of the non-power cars and one of the main power cars from that. At the moment this can then go to one side, so I'll just pop that where I'm not going to need it, which is pretty much everywhere else. So on this you can buy one of these trusty little screwdrivers from Road and Rouse. They're about £4 or £5.99. Richard then sells them. So these screwdrivers do mostly all Bachmann and Hornby units and locos that you can take the bodies off, so they're much easier. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take the power car out of the middle coach. So I'm going to unbox it. I'm going to do it all live now so you can all see it. And you can all understand how to do it, little tips and trades and everything else. So there's different ways to do it. So underneath the coach you've got two screws which are just hidden just behind the bogie frames. Now you will have to take one of the bogie frames off at the moment because you will need to replace it with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to undo the two screws. So while I do that, I'm just going to pan down so you can actually see it. so you can see what I'm actually doing. So all I'm doing is just undoing the 2 screws, and I'll just pop them down. And obviously the best thing is with this, a screwdriver that you can get from Road and Rails, is that you can, it's a magnet, so if you do lose the screw or you do need to put the screw up, it does pick it up, which you can probably just see about there. So I tend to leave those, what I tend to do is put them on a bit of blue tack, but I've lost my bit of blue tack. So for this bit here, you will need to grab your non-power car out of the box. So hello Ollie, to do this, and you'll also need to take it out, and this is pretty much the easiest part. Yes, Gary, I'm in my I'm in my man cave, is what I like to call it. So if I just pan up, you can see a couple of signs. You can see Cedar Court, which is behind me. There's all the Ebsworth Street stock. Then you can see the workbench, the lovely to-do pile list, and obviously the log cabin and everything else that goes around there. So you can see there's still quite a fair bit to do on the old desk. So what I'm going to do now is, I've got a screwdriver. I need to get a flat bladed screwdriver for this. Doesn't matter what size, tiny little one will do. So it doesn't matter. What you need to do is look on the bottom of the chassis, and you can see at this end here you've got the curves. Now this is what Bachmann done. They then designed this so you could actually, the motor car is actually designed to fit in a normal powering car, which is obviously what I'm going to change it over to. So then I can then either have it as a 2-car or a 3-car unit. So all I'm going to do for this is just get a small screwdriver, and just behind the back of the chassis there's a little lip. All you have to do is unclip it, and then basically that now comes off. So you can now move that to the other end of the power car. So exactly the same here. So what you're going to have to do is obviously take off the chassis and the screws. So there's one undone, and the other one is undone as well. And then obviously this is where you need just enough sign, and you need a little bit of space as well to do this. So and to undo this is, now we don't need the shell anymore for just the time being, but obviously we want this chassis bit here. So all I tend to do is do exactly the same. You can take it off from either end on this side, so you can just get a screwdriver in underneath. Sometimes these are quite tight, sometimes these are quite not, but obviously just bear in mind that obviously this non-power car has got pickup, so if you did wanted to add like a lighting system in there or anything else, you can do it, so it's not a huge issue. So we've got the bogie frame there. Now bear in mind obviously this has got the power car on, so you do have to be a little bit clever on how you do this. So all I'm going to do is just pop that on, which is on the motor one, so I've got that in the right place. So it doesn't really matter which end you do, but obviously you need the one without the coupling on. Is that an East Midlands? No, it's a Bachmann 159 in the Southwest Trains livery, which is, I believe is the product code for that was 31514. So it's about a couple of years old, so it's not a huge difference. So I think that is a bogie, not a chassis. Well, yeah, there's different types of what people call what different things. A chassis, same sort of thing. Right, so what I'm going to do is undo this. There we go. So we've got our shell now, and the only difference is where the non-power car is, you've got the Mimic kadee coupling there. So all I tend to do is I just tend to just cut it off, because unless you're going to reuse it, which you pretty much won't do. So I still keep the electrical couplings in there. Now for this you will need a soldering iron. because I like to reuse and make it reusable, so I don't have to do so much wiring. So if I did have to take the shell off the unit, I can. So I'll show you what I will do once I get this back on. And yes, Ollie, I have got loads of wagons for you, so pretty much what you'll be able to see tomorrow on Walden Road when he does his live stream is all the wagons that he's going to unveil and unbox, which obviously I know what they are. He got them from me this week, and he's got a lovely new loco as well, which you'll be able to show you. This is not sitting on as it should do. Oh, that'll be why. There we go. One of the catches just to... So with this, I'm also going to be replacing the couplings with the Hunt couplings. So we've got the magnets on them. So it's, there we go. So that's all nice and in place, and that is clipped. So all I'm going to do is get my soldering iron. Just going to tin the soldering iron just to make sure we've got some bits there. And all I'm doing is just on the power car there, we've got the little plug there which connects into the lights. So all I'm doing is just applying a little bit of heat and then just slowly just pulling the wire out underneath, so then I can then reuse that on the power car when I need to. When is the wagon going to be for sale at normal public? Well, the layout, the wagon that obviously I've designed for my model railway club they are available to buy. I can sell them at any time. It's not a huge issue. They cost £10. Ollie's got 2 of them, which you'll be able to see later on tomorrow, and you'll be able to see them and what they look like. I'm trying to get him to build one himself. So hello Peter. Yes, you probably know Peter Dixon. He does some models on his layout called Toddon Road. He's actually a member of one of my model railway club. So hello Peter. So what I'm going to do now is just use the screwdriver and pop the screw back in to the chassis. Hello Gary. So now we have a middle coach, which is a non-power car, so now that can sit on the track, and that can be added or taken out if you want to use it or not. So because I don't need it, I'm just going to pop it back in the old box with the coupling, and then just pop that to one side, because I will need to put the old magnet couplings on it in a moment. So what we can do is we go back to our power car now. Now the power car chassis has got a metal chassis, so for this you will need a screwdriver, and you will need a drill if you want to fit the kadee couplings to it. When you do the lighting circuit on the Bachmann 158, is you can keep it with this plug-in, so you don't then have to remove it. So what I'm going to be doing is I use some PCB board circuit, which I had made already earlier. So on this PCB board, I have two 1K resistors. What I do is I pull them up together, tie them up together, and then put one side on the other side. Hi Peter, lucky you have Greg as a chairman or not. A chairman, he's a great, yeah. I must admit, you know, I'm very lucky to have the club members that I've got, and the support that they give me, and the layout and the club. You know, I can't thank them enough. So what I'm going to do now is get ready for fitting almost the decoder. So I'd use NCE decoders, and you can probably hear my dogs barking, and my mum's probably going to come in a little bit. Yeah, buffing because she tried calling me. So yeah, so we're going to fit an NCE decoder. These are 4 function decoders. Let's see if it, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? And can you see me and doing, waving a little bit and dancing? Make yourself look funny. I think, yeah, Cool has probably thrown it out of sync, but as long as you can still hear me and see what I'm actually doing, a little bit of a delay is not an issue. So I use the NCE decoders. They're from America. And these are pretty good because obviously if you haven't got a motor car or anything, you can program them down here. I've got a little program test set here. So what I'm going to do now is just go through what I do with the power car. So first of all, I tend to just use the soldering iron and obviously take off the existing wires that are on place at the moment. So let me just take that off now. Do you still work for the train company, Greg? Yes, I still work for the train company. I still work for Southeastern. I've worked for Network Rail and I've worked for GBRF in the past, so I've got various skills across various companies. So just desoldering what the pickups that where they go to the track, because obviously these don't want to go to the motor now. Now obviously when they do this, they do funny colours at each end. So there we go. So I've got 4 wires now, and I've got the motor. That is, if I did try it on the track, it wouldn't work. So what I'm going to do now is just slowly just strip these wires, tin them together, so I've got a decent enough connection. Most people can use wire strippers, or you can use a pair of pliers. As I was an engineer for so many years, you get used to cutting wires with a pair of pliers. It just makes it that 10 times easy, and then all I do is I just make sure I've got good enough and I can tin it. Always whenever you're soldering, make sure you do tin the wires first, or if they've already got solder on, because it helps the bond of the solder. So I'm just going to tin the 2 wires, and I know I've got a good enough connection. My Amazon delivery has arrived, which also I didn't get the notification because obviously I'm talking to you guys. So okay, so I've got 2 wires that are tinned and ones that slightly just come off. And obviously if there's anything that you want to know about on how to do stuff, then obviously just drop us a message and I should be able to do it. Used to use underground Eric's quality, so it's a dream for me anyways. So yeah, so here what I've done, we know that the red and black go to the track, orange and grey go to the motor. So for this, what I tend to do is I tend to leave the wires quite long for the red and the black, because then it just gives me flexibility to put in the decoder anywhere in the body. So all I do is I pick any, it doesn't matter which side I use, and all I do is I just wire it round, get myself a bit of solder, and now that is soldered for the red, and now I'm going to do the black, and then once that is done we can then fit it onto the motor, and then once it's fitted onto the motor we then test it just to make sure that the motor still works without connecting any lights, because we don't want to go too far and connect it all and then find out there is an issue. So now we've got the red and the black. It's a bit hot still. And now I'm going to connect the grey. So the grey I still leave the same length. So I've got that option. And this time, because I'm going to be using this against some stuff that's already been re-tinned, soldering iron and the picks, I'm just going to re-tin it and then solder it on. So it's just a matter of getting it in. I can do a little close-up in a second. Obviously make sure that obviously you get your temperature right on your soldering iron if you've got a temperature controlled soldering iron. So what have we got there? Karen, do you think Bachmann would have bothered to upgrade the model much since the new one at the moment? Well, the reason why they upgraded it is because I spoke to Dave Harhouse, who is the managing director of Bachmann, and I said, look, you know, you've got these brand new models that are coming out by Railtrack, which is 142s. And I said to him, I said, you know, it'd be fantastic to get a brand new Bachmann model, you know, with lights, the extra bits of detail. And he says, oh, do you know anybody who's done it? And well, I've got a few that are got lights, sound and everything on. So right, so what we've done now is we've done everything. We've got a decoder here, which is just on the tester. So I'll just bring you around. So the tester is there. And you can just put it down, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check it. So just going to go into program mode, and it's just checking the decoder. There we go. So we're just going to program that to 3, and then I'm just going to check the decoder and just make sure that we get a bit of light. So you can probably just see the light there, but so now what I'm going to do is take the decoder out, pop it into the harness, and then I'm just going to pop the train on the track, and then I'm just going to hold it and then just test it. And there we go. So we know that it's going to work because the decoder has worked that far. So we've done the majority of it, which is good. So all I'm going to use now is some electrical tape, just to secure the 2 wires so we don't get no shorting out. You can use heat sinks, and you can use very different things. I always tend to use electrical tape because sometimes the heat sinks can still get a little bit hot, same as with electrical tape. So there we go. And then exactly the same thing again. Once that's done, I know I can then almost. I know I've got a decoder that I can put anywhere. So I'm just going to pan back up. Do you sell much? Do you do much Engage modelling, or is it Engage testing track? So I've got an Engage testing track on here. It's because when I do go to shows, I take this test track with me that we can test locos up and down. On analog, and obviously we've got some. I've got a pile of Engage stuff that I have anyway, because I'm in the process of building a new Engage layout down the club. So once that opens up, we've got a lovely 16 foot by 2 foot, 2 foot 5, 2 foot 6 baseboards. So there's quite a lot. So now what I'm going to do on this part is I'm going to use the blue wire from the DCC harness. Now what I tend to do is, obviously I know the loco's back on the track, so I'm going to take it off the track and I'm just going to unplug the decoder so we don't get any shorting or anything. So I'm going to take the blue wire, strip it, and then obviously just tin it. And then now with the PCB boards, they come like this. So they come up already standard at that sort of size, and sometimes you can get some of them. This one has got the markings on, so you can actually ask them to put the markings on, so then I cut them into that size. So if you have a look there, that one is that size, so there's a little bit of wastage but there's not too much. So all you need to do is get yourself some 1K resistors. You can buy them from most places. So all you tend to do is get 2 1K resistors, get them both at the bottom, twist them together, and then just pull them apart so it looks like a Y. And then obviously once you've got your PCB board, just stick it in the middle two, but obviously make sure that the PCB board on the back side of it is the side that you need to the solder onto. So as you can see here, I've put the resistors on the non-solder inside, twisted them up, and then obviously just soldered them. So you've got 4 points, so you've got, it almost looks like your top marker lights and your 2 sides on the side there. So for this one, you need to solder the blue wire to the middle section, which is just down there, that middle one there. So all I'm going to do is now solder that in place, and once that's done, and there we go. So that's now that is in place. So there's our solder. So now here comes the plug that we took off from the non-powered car. Now when Bachmann did fit these, they done them so you can see there, there's the length of wire they used on one to the other. So what I tend to do is I tend to cut it down so it's exactly the same length, because then one, it makes it easier to fit, and two, it then doesn't look unprofessional in the job that gets done. Exactly the same thing again. Once you've done it, just tin the wire so that it's nice. So now we need a yellow wire. So I want it to be the same length as what the blue is, but just a little bit longer. So what I tend to do is I tend to hold it up to where the harness is, and then cut the wire off. And then this one here, I tend to strip quite a fair bit back, because now I want to connect one side of the plug system to the wire. Yes, I've already tinned it, but it also means because it's tinned, it's rigid, so it's not going to move about for when I want to solder. So all I'm going to do is now grab my soldering iron and just tin that. And then I'll repeat exactly the same for the other side. So now for the other side, I need a yellow. So because obviously I've already got the plug there, I could fit the plug and solder the plug on already, which would then be like that. So I will do that on this case, because sometimes it depends on your skill level and skill set, but don't be afraid to try this in different ways to whichever way works best for you. So all I've done is just taken a bit of solder on. There we go. So now that is in place. So now I've just got to do exactly the same. So I'm just going to take the yellow wire. And you can use different types of decoders. It really does depend on what you've got and what you feel comfortable. Everybody does things differently. So I'm just going to cut the yellow wire, give myself enough to strip, and then take the other wire that I've not used so far, wrap that round the already tinned wire so it gives you a bit of a rigid surface, and then solder it back. Once I get back up working, once Ollie from Walden Road comes over and helps me get up proper live streaming, I'll be able to have several cameras. I'll have one on the workstation here, one on the layout behind me, and one on the desk. So there's the various different things you can do. So would you recommend an expensive soldering iron over a normal one? To be honest, my soldering iron here, I've got two. I've got one inside the house that I use in my workbench in my bedroom, and I've got one here. They're both digital ones. This one here I paid 55 quid for. So much better. The temperature control on this is perfect. So if you're using really fine wire, which I'm using here, I tend to have it on around about 300, but obviously these like heat up in less than 30 seconds. So if you really do need, especially when I do exhibitions, it makes it so much easier. So now what I've done, so this is what it should look like once you've done it. So you've got your blue into the middle, your yellow to one side, and then your white to the other side. Now that just gives you the circuit there, plus the harness, plus the loco itself. So what I'll do is I'll pan back down, and we'll stick it on the track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the way that the power car would sit. So because we've taken the decoder out at the moment, all I'm going to do is plug the decoder back in and just check to make sure that the motor car is going to move, because obviously if it doesn't, then we've got a problem. Like now, it doesn't want to move. So I'm just going to check the decoder, because sometimes it could be the decoder that has a bit of an issue. Oh, right, there we go. So it's not the decoder, because the decoder is actually working on there. So it's something to do on here. So we'll try and work it out what has happened. So just make sure we've got everything. It's not shorting. Try a different decoder. Oh, there's my bit of blue tack that I found. There we go. So I'll try a new decoder and see if that is the problem. So you have got two extra wires that are there that are not needed anymore, which is a purple one and a green one. So you can get rid of those, but I tend to just cut them not too short, just enough length. So we've got a link there, just make sure we're all connected up, and there we go. So that on that one there looks like the output module's gone on it. So there we go. So the loco now works, and now what we can do is we can move everything out of the way and we can bring our body back down. Now we haven't touched anything with this, so it literally as plug it in, and you can just about see on this one here I've got a red bulb out, which I knew about anyway. So you've got a red bulb out, so if I do that, that's in the forward direction, and that's the reverse. So probably there's a little wire on that side that's probably a bit loose, probably just needs a bit of soldering, but because we know that the wire's in the wrong place, all you need to do is just turn the plug around, and then now that gives you, there we go, so we've got both of them working now. So it's a polarity done. So you can see there we've got our reds, so we should go backwards, and if we go forwards, and then we've got the Talaloo lights. So there we go. So that's how you chip and move a Bachmann 159 or 158. So now, because obviously I've got a lot of space on this wire, this is pretty good, because obviously I've done this. But underneath on the Bachmann chassis, on the shell, you've got two little housing thing to prise this apart. So what I can actually do with this is, when I do plug it back in, and he plugs it back in the right way, so we just check, no, and the other way, just to make sure we've got our two lights going forward, and we've got our chassis there. So that's pretty much how we do it. Now, because I've already got the chassis off, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do the kadee fitting as well. So just bear with me, I'll just grab the drill. So with this you need a 1.5mm drill bit on this one to help you do that. Find the drill bit, so I've got a little box with them already in. And because we know that's all done now, I need the chassis off on this, because obviously when you do use the screw, you've got to then just cut the top of the screw off, or you can do a different style. Just bear with us while I just change that over. I need to clean that out. I was using the old drill for doing stuff on cedar court today. What sort of comments have we got? So at the moment, so if I've got a branch line layout, if I'm running a 3 or 4 max car at once, it'll be rare too, as I'm the only control on the layout. I recommend 1.5 buzz wire. Yeah, see on my layout, I use different types of buzz wire. Will this 1.5? No, this is not going to be a for sale. This is actually going to be for my new layout called Gordon's Lane, which is on a Wessex main line on Facebook. And I'll be able to give you updates next week because I'll be building the legs next week. So what I'm going to do now is just going to take this off, and I'm just going to unplug. Now obviously, because I've got this, I've got loads of space, I'm just going to use some electrical tape just to hold this in place, as we don't want it to move. And sometimes I use double-sided sticky tape, but it really doesn't make a difference. Now I'm going to just unplug the decoder because I don't want them to blow. So with the cedar cord, it's behind me, as you can just see there. I'll pan round in a minute and I'll show you what I've actually done to it. So with this now I need a kadee coupling, which I'll be able to get out in a second. With the metal chassis, these are pretty much quite hard, so all I tend to do is leave it on its wheels. Now on the top of the chassis you've got a tiny little box or a hole where they put the dummy, which you can just see there. So what I need to do is drill a hole between this hole and the outer edge of the chassis. Now sometimes this can be quite difficult, so all I tend to do is put the old drill down to low, just so that we've got enough, and then I just take my time in drilling. Sometimes what I'm going to do with this one is actually I'm going to drill it on the upside down, because you've got two really big metal, and obviously then you don't put too much pressure on the wheels as you do it. You will need to file down after this because the chassis is not completely perfect, but I'm just going to go ahead and drill that now. And obviously you will need a metal drill bit for this, a plastic drill bit. There's like this one now. This one I've used before. These ones are, so you slowly started going through it. That one was pretty blunt. I think I've used that one before. So there we go. There's loads of different things you can do. I bought loads of KDs from Hatton's last week, and Hatton's within 2 days had already put the price up by £2 or £3. So that was a bit annoying. So we just check it again. Yes, a bit wonky. I've got a bit of ballast stuck in this when I was working on cedar court. But yeah, cedar court is a friend's layout of mine that I'm building for him. It's an 8 foot by 1.5, and it's already got its first show, which I was quite shocked about. There we go. So that is lovely and neat. So you can just see, if I pan right up to the camera, you can just see the hole there. Now on the bottom, as you can see there, you've got that little bit of a lip. You will need to file that down, because otherwise the KD will then sit at an angle like that. So then when it then connects to the KD correct height, it won't actually sit there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and find a file, which as you probably imagine, everybody's toolbox is a trusty file. So, and obviously this is the advantage point, is obviously you don't have to have it connected, you can just move it around without the shell. And obviously if you hardwire this in, you then can't remove the shell or change the numbers or anything like that. So I'm just going to file this down. It doesn't take too long, and you will notice that you will file down some of it because the chassis does move, but it's pretty easy once it's done. Because obviously when I do connect these, I want these to connect up to I'm hoping they'll be able to have 3 159 couples together. Yeah, it's 40 minutes. It's quite quick when you do it. and this is just one end. So what I've done is I've just filed that down, so now that is really nice and flat and flush to do. So I'm just going to grab my box of kadees. So I have a lovely box of loads of different types of couplings in there. So I've got some magnet couplings, I've got some kadee boxes, I've got standard hook and types, I've got some 150s, 411s, some coach couplings which are fantastic, which I tend to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make up a kadee. Now you can buy these. The set I use is a set 5, which are pretty decent. They are pretty standard. So with this, you just need a top and a bottom for the kadee. Now a lot of people do get these mixed up on which way they need to go round, so that the raised edge part of the kadee needs to sit in, plus the brass plate. The brass plate gives you a little bit of an angle. Now what you then do is put the kadee upside down so it sits like that. Oak Lane TMD is live. Yeah, Oak Lane TMD, I'll be able to fit up Oak Lane TMD pretty soon, once I've finished building Cedar Court. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just slightly do that, but first I'm just going to use the drill just to open it up a little bit, because I know I don't like to tend to use the bigger drill bit because it tends to break the chassis. So there we go, and then all you need is the screw, good old trusty screwdriver, and then it should, there we go, so it's just biting now. Don't try not to put too much pressure onto the screw because sometimes they do break. You can get different types of screws to fit in. Once you get to a certain point, you will need to hold the kadee and then screw in place as it tightens. Okay, and that is, I've even done more than what I expected to do tonight. So there we go, so we've got a kadee fitted. What is the junction, what is being junction doing here? What's that say? I can't, Harley's thought you were somewhere else. Oh, happy birthday, Richard. Yes, the standard joke is when we go to shows, Richard, myself, Marcus, Lambert, a couple of our friends and that, we was down at, where were we? We was, I can't remember where we were. Where were we, Richard? I'm trying to think where we were. We went out for dinner. Was it Birmingham? It was the NCE, and was it Birmingham? It was one show. No, Great Central Railway it was. We was all down there for the weekend, and we was having, that was it, Great Electric Train, Great Central Railway, yeah. We was down there and we went, it was a Saturday night, and the whole team of us said, look, I had Ebsworth Street there, so there was 10 of us. There was Richard, and there was 2 of my other mates, Marcus and Paul, and we went for dinner at this curry house, which I found the night before on the Friday. It was a lovely romantic dinner, train railway dinner. It was amazing. So we went to this curry house, and as typical, it's a huge joke. So we went to this lovely curry house, got there, had dinner, and at the end of it, they come out with these drinks, and yeah, they said it was my birthday. So in the end we got these drinks for nothing, and they took off a couple of drinks as well, so it was quite an interesting night out. But it was very recommended. But obviously when I do go to shows, I do help, I do pay for my team to have dinner, to say thank you for helping me, because obviously I can't do Ebsworth Street alone. Ebsworth Street, you know, is a huge size layout, it is. So there we go. So there is a Bachmann 159 now converted to a 158 with a power chassis car. And you can see there it's got the red lights in, and I put the plug the wrong way around, so I'm quickly going to undo that. I should have checked that before I put the chassis on, but obviously I'm so happy that I've got a happy birthday. Hope the wife is well, and the kid was on the way for lovely Richard at New Junction. So yeah, we just check that. Who was playing footsie? Yeah, that weren't me. That was not me. Mind you, I think you sitting next. You sitting opposite to me to the left. So it was not me. I think it was. Yeah, no, it wasn't me. And yeah, we had our other mate down there. The boss lady says hello. How is she doing? How's the weight loss as well? Yeah, so that was pretty good. That was a very enjoyable night out, that was. And there's many stories I could tell you about Glasgow for Scotland, which I will probably leave for another stream. So there we go. So we've got a Bachmann 159 converted. I've even done the kadee coupling on the front. Now over here I have got a kadee coupling test height, which you won't be able to see, but that is how you chip a Bachmann 158, 159 and convert it to it. Going back up now, as she's got a bun in the oven. She said you're really looking for... Yeah, I'm really well. I've got 11.5 stone I've lost since the surgery, so I'm really happy with that. Most of you probably know I had surgery 2 years ago to lose weight, so I've lost 11.5 stone since then. So hence why when Walden Road, actually, I said to him, he said he's actually seen one of my layouts, and he said I actually showed him the lights as they plugged in, plugged out, and I was like, which show was it? Because obviously if he'd have seen me then, he probably wouldn't have realised who I was. So all I'm going to do now is I built a purpose-built board here for this to sit on and test the kadee height, which I will get the camera in a second and show you. So as we can see, I'll bring you over. So I'll pan you round as he does. There we go. You can get an Ebsworth Street t-shirt if you really want one. There we go. So there's the test track for the 159. So as you can see there, I've got a tester, so it tests the kadee height. Now, so you can see there's a little bit of a difference on there, but it's not too bad. I'm not too worried about that. And then that is pretty much how to fit a Bachmann 158, 159 chassis with a decoder. And obviously this is behind me is what you can see, which is cedar court. So if I turn the camera around, I might be able to turn the rear. There we go. So I will pan round now and then down, and then you'll be able to see the new layout that I'm building, which, believe it or not, only come as baseboards, and this is what I've done so far. So I was showing Ollie and some of the guys on Discord earlier. Yesterday I've had this built this. I built a lovely building, well, road over rail bridge, and I've built several Nightwing kits there to go on the layout. Now if I pan round here, you'll see the shed, and you'll see the 2 porta cabins and the other fuel tank, which I'm probably going to use as oil for this layout. Now I'm not going to put it there because obviously the risk of a train going off and then going straight into the oil, it would be a health and safety risk, and I'm sure someone somewhere would actually say something about that. So this kit here is a buffering, am I? Oh yes, because I'm moving around now. This is a railway laser line kit. It's a wagon yard, and I'll just pan round. Can everybody hear me still? I'm doing this off of 4G at the moment because my internet is not powerful enough to do that sort of live stream yet, which obviously I will be doing eventually. So yeah, I've got a Bachmann scene craft building, some acro scale buffer stops, I've got some model rail scenery buildings. I've also used the railway laser line 3D southern region fencing, and then I've got some lovely trees and bushes off of Bachmann scene craft and wish.com, and then I've weathered the track down as well. So as you can see, that is pretty much what Cedar Court will be like, and it's just been confirmed about half an hour 40 minutes ago that it's going to be going to a railway show in August if we're allowed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you there because, believe it or not, it's time for me to relax with a nice little beer, and I will do another live show soon once I've worked out how to get this old computer working over there with a live stream and everything else. So thank you very much for watching. Be good, stay safe, and happy modelling. Bye bye.